Welcome everybody to the first of many podcast style altered art tutorial, me speaking into a microphone for a long time videos. Nice to see everybody. Welcome to Paintings of Steve Brown. I am going to be painting this beautiful Titania Protector of Argoth in front of me. Make sure to get comfortable, grab a beer, and watch me paint this and talk about altered art and how to make art and how to make money doing art and how to make your social media work for you. Because I have art days with a couple local artists and we just, hang out together. We all pull out an easel and we all start working on something and we have art-centered conversations. We help each other out and we try to, work with each other about what painting we have. Oh, you should put some black over here, or we should mute that red, stuff like that. And it's really nice. It's also a good way to just chill and drink with your friends in a safe, small pod, thanks to this COVID nightmare that's almost over. So what I do when I start these altars is I get this just piece of regular construction paper. I get 50 sheets of black construction paper and I tape them down on the corners. It's on top of a playmat. I have my playmat that I normally play Magic on my desk, and then I just have a little protective layer for obvious reasons. After a couple, you see I've done a couple cards. After a couple cards, you can just throw this one away. And it just protects everything. It also, for video purposes, you get a really nice contrast in the background. You get the black contrast, which I really like. What I just did to this card, first and foremost, I also tape it on the back. I make little tape loops, and I tape 4 points on the card so this thing's not going anywhere. With cards, especially the certain editions, so like Throne of Eldraine, a couple of the Commander sets, couple Commander Legends. There's a couple sets that are really waxy, no matter what the printers are. If you alter enough cards, you'll kind of know what editions are waxy on the front, which is not that good for painting, and some that are not. The Ikoria was really good. There's a couple newer sets that are really good. All the old cards are amazing. Doing 4th edition, 5th edition cards, they take whatever paint you put on them. They're really, really awesome. If I could just paint 4th edition nonstop, I would, but new cards come out, you gotta paint them. So, for the ones that I know are gonna be waxy, and or the ones that I know I'm gonna be putting down a good amount of paint, or a little amount of paint, and I just want to stick really well, I put this little guy on. It is a clear texture gesso, made specifically for acrylic. This comes out, it looks white, but as you paint it on, as you saw, I paint on a very thin amount, very, very thin amount. I probably dip it in there maybe twice. You can count on the video how many times I dipped it in, maybe twice or 3 times, and I'm just doing the borders. And I'm blending it in really nice, and I can feel it now. It gives it a little rough feeling. So this is going to go on clear. No one's going to know you have it on there, but your paint will want to stick a little bit more, which is always what we want. The way I'm putting all my paints together, I am using a wet palette. So if you look at this, this is the top of my, it's like a Tupperware top. It's the top to my art supplies. Ooh, it's nasty in there. So I put down a sponge that I cut to the specific size, and then an old t-shirt over the top of that just to make it a little nicer. And then I take my water off to the side here. Can you see my water? My water reservoir, and I just drip some water onto that to get it nice and soaked, and then I kind of squeeze out the water back into my water reservoir. And then you have a pretty nicely soaked, still has a little bit of wetness, t-shirt sponge combo for your palette. And then, because right now you're probably like, what are you doing? That's not the way what you put paints on. And then you take a piece of this Reynolds wrap, just your generic Reynolds wrap from your local grocery store, and you're going to cut a piece to fit right in there. And that is what you're going to paint on. This is called a wet palette. There's many, many tutorials, but you just watched one, so you don't have to go and watch those tutorials. And this wet palette is going to give you, what I like is a disposable palette, so I can just toss this in the Reynolds wrap in the garbage. I don't have to go and scrape a bunch of dried acrylic out of anything and put that acrylic down my down the drain, which is good. I'm pretty sure good for the environment. But then what you're doing is, you see how like it's nice and moist on the bottom. This is going to give you just a little bit, a tiny minuscule amount of water kind of seeping through. So when you find your paints, let me see what actual paints I'm going to be using. When you get your paints and you plop them on there, I need a nice yellow. You are going to, what kind of paints do I need? You can make a little blob. See, I got my burnt sienna, and I'm just gonna need a little bit. You make a blob, and what I do is, if you saw that I like kind of kicked it up, I kind of dragged it. So if you see, I have a like thick little mountain, and then I also have like a little valley. So the valley is going to be nice and watered down, and that thick mountain is going to be just like straight acrylic. So if I need a nice, when I'm blending, I just need like, okay, I just need that brown, I have it right there. Or if I need it watered down, it's going to have that little valley there. So I'm going to do that to pretty much all of the colors that I need. And whenever I take my colors out, I kind of just put them off to the side, because then I know they're very close. I use, as a brand, I'm trying to change everything over to golden, but I still use Arteza as well. So Arteza was like the first thing I got. And I got like a pack of 60 colors. I mean, you don't need more than 60 colors to paint anything in the world. So I got a pack of 60 colors, and they've been really, really nice. Some of the colors kind of suck, but as far as, acrylic paints go, it's really hard to find really expensive acrylic paints. So anything that's not from like the Walmart 50-cent section is probably going to be good. So I would highly, highly recommend everyone getting the Arteza 60 count. 60? Yeah. So it's a 60 count premium. I mean, they only sell 160, I think. And it will have all your blacks and whites and primaries, and then all the cool ones in between. There's this really nice ochre. There's a bunch of really nice like emerald and like teal. It's literally all of the colors you'll need. And what I did was I used that as my first one. They're not the best tubes. They're not the best colors. However, it really got me to understand what I need. And then as I kept going, then you start getting into golden heavy, which is what I use now. Now, golden is, they're not the absolute top. There's some really, really, really expensive acrylics out there that if you really want to, show that you're the coolest, you can go buy those super expensive ones. However, golden is, probably the top selling of the top acrylics, and I am extremely happy with them. So I'm not doing anything but getting goldens at this point. I think I need a white, and I'm good. And then for like my whites and my blacks, I get these like big ol' hunkin' tubes, and I save a little bit of money because I'm gonna use white and black in pretty much every single altered card. So now, I think that's all I need. I might need a nice red or something in there. Ugh. Let me move the lighting and see if it still looks good. 1 second. Does that still look good? Yeah, okay. So you see my palette and where I kind of did everything. So I make a blob and then I smear, a blob and then I smear, a blob and then I smear. Ooh, there's some blue in my white. That's not good. So as I do that, like I said, I'm making, it's pretty much like 2 options for each color. So I have like a wet and I have a dry. When you use that, because I'm using heavy body, it's going to be really thick. It's going to be like super thick compared to a fluid, or like a golden fluids are very like, they're already kind of watered down. They're already jelly, This I need to make jelly or not make jelly. If I need like a really strong black, I can work that into a different color. I don't know who said golden heavy, what altarist, but I just been going with it. And I've been altering full-time for a year now, and golden heavy seems to be where it's at. No one's complained about my thickness, ever. Like, in a very long time, no one's complained about my thickness, so pretty sure I'm doing the right thing. But, you know, it's art, so there's no rules. No one can tell you you're doing a bad job. I always say, if you want to get into the existential art conversation, art is the hardest thing a human can do. And I stand by that, and I will die on that hill. I will die on that hill. So, now that this is dried, I have texture gesso on it. I have a wet palette. I have my colors done. I then need to pick my beautiful, beautiful, tiny little... Can you see those well? You can kind of see those well. These are my brushes that I use for pretty much everything. So, this is an XDT. There's some, like, Chinese knockoff whatever brand, but they're, like, liners that I got on eBay. This is a 00 size. This is a 2, but I cut it down. So I, like, use some scissors and I just kind of cut it to make it nice and thin. So it's super thin and super long. This one's, like, medium length and full. And then I just got, someone was talking about Winsor & Newton Series 7. So I got one of these in a 000, which is, I believe, the smallest they make. So this is like my very, very fine detail. Okay, I need to put some light colors in there, and this is my big daddy at the moment. I don't use anything bigger than a 00 on my altered arts. If you do, great. Like I said, there are no rules. What I'm doing now, my point of this exercise or this talk here is just to get people to see my process, have something nice to listen to. I listen to a ton of stuff on the internet. Oh, I need a good brown. That's what I didn't pour. So if you just want to sit back, relax, listen to my soothing voice, and treat it like a podcast. Go hang out, get some errands done, or watch me. Sorry, my thing's in my mouth. Or watch me absolutely do a fantastic job on this Titania. Let's pour some brown here. Alright. So, I'm trying to figure out, as you can see, I use like the wet part of the main color that I'm going to be trying to mix. So I'm trying to make this like yellowy green. And it's nice and watered down. You can see how it kind of like, it's still very opaque on my first round. So what I do on my first round of getting into everything is I very thinly color block. So what I'm trying to do is take a color that I think goes there and just block it out. Just go, okay, this is going to be a good amount of this like dirty yellow over here. Yeah, get some dirty yellow for this like little block that she has that she's sitting up next to. You know, and just kind of start color matching slowly. But while I'm color matching, as you can see on my palette, I'm still leaving a little bit extra. So my second pass, I will still have that color already there. Or on my second pass, I can start blending because I nailed it on the first pass of that color. Or, like you see with this like dark brown black, I am kind of nailing it on my first pass. And I can kind of forget about this corner for a little bit until we get to the part of the card where you have to just like, okay, we're going to go back over and make sure we didn't make any mistakes, clean up our edges, make sure all of our branches make sense, which is going to be a thing in this painting. Make sure that all my branches are going in the right direction, that they make sense, that I don't have, something that I don't think should be there. But if you look, I'm literally just going, all right, this looks like a, green-brown. So I just put some green-brown there. All right, this looks like a, this looks like a dark black. This looks like a black-brown. And I'm just trying to make this thing very rudimentary, like a little kid learning colors. I just go, this is olive, dark olive. Yes, good, Steve. This is dark olive. Okay, this is gonna go dark olive over here. Good job, Steve. Good job. Yes. Paint the dark olive. And then once I'm over that, and I literally painted all of the parts on the background. So what we're doing is we're focusing on the background first. You always go from back to front. Do your background first, and then once your background is solid and good and everything makes sense and your little tree trunk, this little guy's doing what he should be doing, then you go onto your foreground or your mid background and you start making sure your shadows are there. I mean, like there's definitely a process, and once you're deep in it, like I'm about to be, once I'm deep in it and I'm really like painting it, it all just comes second nature. I'm very focused when I do art, and it's really why I do art, because my ADD, as I'm sure I'm preaching to most people in my generation, word up to the millennials, we are afflicted with ADD. I mean, it's coursing through our veins. So when I do anything else in the world, I'm normally pretty distracted. You know, maybe that's just because I'm a happy-go-lucky guy and I like to experience life and drink all the good shit in. Or maybe it's because I was given Ritalin as a very small child for many, many years. Who knows? But this has been, altering magic cards has been a hobby for a couple of years, and now is what I do to pay the bills. I'm not paying a lot of bills doing it. I'm paying the major bills. Paying the main bills doing this. I'm not paying off my Maserati that in my brain I should have by now. Ugh. Woo! My God. I'm not very good at like straight lines and shit. You know, every artist has a blind spot, and they'll be the first one to be like, oh yeah, I suck at color blending, or oh yeah, I suck at this and that. Me, you say, draw a straight line, the gun to my head, and I am sorry, I'll invite you to the funeral. I cannot draw a straight line. It's just not happening. Sorry. So, when I have to pull straight lines for these text boxes, I gotta like hold my breath and know that I'm going to not do it right on the first pass, you know? And I'll show you the tips and tricks of how to make it look good when you are real bad at it. When you fuck up so bad that you want to throw away the card, Steve's gonna tell you the ways to make it good. Oh my God. Another thing about color blending that's really, really, like, what people don't understand is you don't have to mix it perfectly on your first try. Like, did you just see that green I just put down? That made absolutely no sense. Because you're working with acrylics. Oh my God, this green doesn't make any sense anywhere in the painting. Oh, there we go. When you're working with acrylics, you can cover pretty well. You know, you don't have to. It's not watercolors. I mean, that's what I started with, was watercolors. Not on magic cards, but just in art in general. That's when I started taking stuff seriously, was with watercolors. Oh, if you don't put down the right thing, it's a effing nightmare to recover that painting the way you want it. You know what I mean? The eyes are offset, your nose is all screwed up, you know, like your paintbrush has a tiny amount of red when you're supposed to be making it blue, and it's just like, okay, now you put down a weird purple and it starts bleeding into everything. Holy cannoli. I'm trying not to swear. It's not easy to make that look good. You have to, it's a pain in the ass. This is one of the reasons why I stopped water. There's one piece of art in particular, and I fucked up. I was making this praying mantis, and I gave it way too many legs. I made this thing with so many legs. This thing had so many legs. I can't even tell you how many legs this thing's had. And I go, okay, well, that was a gigantic mistake. I am going to erase one of the legs. And so I just got my paintbrush nice and wet, and I was just like, if I just rub this thing, if I just keep on rubbing, I'm going to erase the leg. And it just turned out to be crap. Just turned out like the whole painting just turned out unbelievably bad. So, I'm not saying I stopped after that, but it was... Definitely had that in the back of my mind when I started doing more, commissioned work with watercolors. But my main point of bringing all that up is that we're working with acrylics. And acrylics are very forgiving. Acrylics are cheap, so if you pour too much of it, you're not feeling bad. If you pour the wrong color and never use it in the rest of the painting, you don't feel bad. They are opaque. You can cover up what you did wrong. They are easily blendable. It's easy for you to screw up and it still look good because you can just blend it. I mean, acrylics are amazing. You know, don't let anyone talk down to you. All the oil painters of the world, don't let them talk down to you. I had it out with an oil painter at a little like art co-op thing a month ago. She was like, "Oh, acrylics, gah." And I was like, "Listen, lady, I do art because it's fun. I don't want to stress out that I just poured, you know, $50 worth of paint, and I need to make it look good." She's like, ugh. I'm still at the point where I'm having fun with acrylic. Anyway, let's talk about altering magic cards. So, the easiest way to start altering magic cards is to do cards that you've been looking at for a long time. So, I know a lot of people say, okay, start with a basic land because they don't cost a lot. I say start with a Land of War Elves because they don't cost a lot and you've looked at this art for a long time. So the fact that you've looked at the art for a long time, you probably have an idea of where the art should go, where your extension should be, how you want it to look. You might have it for your personal deck. I mean, who doesn't use a Land of War Elf? You know, everyone needs a Land of War Elf. So because you're going to be using it personally, maybe you're going to try harder. You know, to be honest, I'm not saying this Titania is really awesome. I love this art. But you know, I'm going to say some controversial shit. I've done 10 million Dockside Extortionists. You know, I've done 10 million Yaruks. I do, like, I don't even want to say publicly how many Elish Norns and Dark Rituals I do on a weekly basis. You know? And I'm not saying I'm not going to do a good job on them. It just doesn't make me super duper excited to paint when I'm like, okay, I just need to nail a playset of Elish Norns. And they all have to look the same. Like, I'm not against it. It's just if I'm doing something for my personal deck or a new card, when the set drops and I get my hands on a couple new cards, those are what make me do a really good job. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to do a better job. So, if you're starting out painting and you're just painting, you know, an island that you may not use, you're probably not going to use for personal use, I think that you're going to care less. You know what I mean? You're going to care less than you would if you're painting your own personal Land of War Elf. Or, I mean, if you really want to jump into the deep end, start painting your commanders for EDH. Just say, you know what, even if I do a bad job, my play group will be like, that's super cool that you painted that. I mean, if you have a good play group, which, you know, us nerds are, we're an unforgiving bunch sometimes. Wow, that was not the right color. Again, very forgiving medium. That should be like way more black. Whatever. Very forgiving medium. So you see what I'm doing? I'm just blocking out color here. Blending. Oh, that's the butteriest brownish, greenish, blackish right there. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So you just block out the colors. You're not trying to make it perfect on your first pass at all. Do not. There's a huge no-no. Do not try to make it perfect on your first pass. Even if it's just a black background. You see where I'm going right now? I have this like really dark black background on the bottom here. I did not try to make it perfect. You can see right through it. You can see the artist acknowledgement in there. You can see all that. I'm not making it perfect on my first pass. There's many reasons not to. You can probably think of all of them. One that an amateur might not think of, that people who have been altering. I mean, I alter a card. I have to alter multiple cards a day. Like, it's my full-time job at this point. But you won't think, and I'll put my, what is this called? The pinky palm area. Oh man, what's it called? The karate chop part of your hand. I'll just rest it on the card sometimes, and I'll just take off some wet paint, and I'll bring the wet paint will be on the bottom of my hand, and I won't know it's on the bottom of my hand, and I drag it all over the card. It's happened more than once for sure. So if you're going and you're like, I'm gonna do the best job and I'm gonna make this background amazing and I won't have to think about it for the rest of the card. Sure, I get what you're saying. Sure. But then a million things can happen. You know, there's a million things. You could have made that part really thick because you're trying really hard to make it really good. And then that part is too thick. It's way thicker than the rest of the card with paint. Or you have to go back in and blend that part because you didn't think that you're, like right now I'm blending this brown into this black because I want the brown to come down. So if it was already built up real thick, you know, I wouldn't want to go back in with this brown. It wouldn't blend as well. It just wouldn't blend as well as I'm doing right now because it'd be too thick, too dark, too fast, too furious. I mean, there's a million reasons. I'm probably going to have to go in and take a toothpick. I'll probably do that right now just to show you guys a little earlier in the video. I take one exact toothpick, nothing special. Let's get a pack of cheap toothpicks. Dip it in my water. Make sure it's not sopping wet. And you just go around and you erase. Oh my God. Unbelievable how there's a way of painting that has an eraser on it. Because I don't know if anyone watching or listening, I don't know if anyone's watching or listening up to this point anyway. Anyone watching or listening is painted on a canvas, but good luck erasing. That's normally something that won't happen. You can cover up, sure. You can cover up real well, but erasing, probably not gonna happen. But with magic cards, boom, erased, gone, to the shadow realm with you. Boom. Alright, that looks cool. So again, I'm like you look around the card and it looks like a child was just like yellow, green, black, brown. Like that's what you want. That's really what you want. I kind of finished the bottom as I was saying, don't do that. But she's just fading out to black with some browns around her. You know, obviously if I charge more for this altar and I wanted to spend an extra half an hour, I could go in and do all these like little root systems, but I'm gonna finish the tree off the side. So the tree's gonna come off the side. In my opinion, like the ground ends like right here where my toothpick is. Like her feet would be right here and the ground is ending there. So like I'm not gonna go in and like do root systems or flowers down here. Like I guess I can do flowers like the perspective is going up, like she's on like a rounded hill. But there's no real reason to go that intricate for what you charge people. So let's talk about that. I think that's fun. I mean, now you're just gonna watch me paint this because now my color blocking is done. Oh, throwing water. My color blocking is done. What I'm gonna do now is go in and I'm gonna kind of pick an area. I think I'm gonna pick on this right side and start getting into the details, figuring out exactly what's happening with my light source. The light source is coming from the left side, as you can clearly see. The easiest way to find out a light source is to look at the subject. What's really good about doing like legendary creatures is it's normally focused on one thing. So you're focused on one creature, so you can see where the light's hitting the face. So the light source is coming from like the bottom left, but for all intents and purposes, we're just gonna say it's coming from the left. As most good things do.